I heard Amy's laugh from the living room, soft yet alien. Her words floated clearly through the silence, each one like an icy finger tracing my spine. Helen is just a guest here. Mike chuckled, a gentle sound twisted into betrayal. My heart froze, then began to pound painfully in my chest. I stood very still, gripping the cold porcelain of the kitchen sink. My own home suddenly felt unfamiliar, unsafe. In that instant, all the quiet fears I'd buried surfaced, fears of becoming invisible, unwanted, an outsider in the life I'd built. They didn't know I'd heard. They didn't see me standing there, silent tears tracing paths down my cheeks. I closed my eyes, counting breaths to steady myself. I'd spent my life protecting Mike, giving him every piece of my heart without reservation. But now, at 58, I realized I was no longer the mother, the anchor. I was merely a disposable guest, tolerated until convenient to remove. And yet, amid the hurt, another feeling stirred, a fierce clarity. If Amy thought I was just a guest, then perhaps it was time to reclaim my home and my dignity. My name is Helen Carter, and I've always valued my independence. I suppose it's because I had no choice. Widowed young, I became everything to my son, Mike, mother, father, friend, guardian. Every penny I earned went into creating a life he could flourish in. My house, modest and nestled in Asheville, was bought with hours of late-night work and early mornings. I remember painting the walls myself, soft yellows and cool blues, colors that echoed laughter and peace. I envisioned a sanctuary for us, a place to feel safe. Yet now, standing alone in that kitchen, all that security felt hollow. Mike was my pride, my hope, and yes, my anxiety too. I'd given him everything willingly, time, money, care, even when it left me with less. But Amy had always unsettled me, quietly shifting Mike's dreams to suit her own. Her charm was subtle, gentle, almost hypnotic. Slowly, I noticed things changing, bills shuffled to different accounts, expenses I couldn't trace. Family heirlooms disappeared, each loss explained away with soothing words. I wanted desperately to believe her. It was easier than facing the painful truth. I was being edged out of my own life. The betrayal was subtle, carefully measured, a manipulation wrapped in kindness. I'd watch them smile and nod as we shared dinner, oblivious to my growing fears. Or perhaps they knew all along, confident in my silence, counting on my inability to confront. It was the discovery of the emergency savings withdrawals that shattered my denial. Large sums transferred quietly, without explanation. I remember my hands shaking as I reviewed the bank statements, the numbers glaring at me accusingly. Each figure was a piece of my life slipping away, taken under the guise of trust. I didn't confront them. Anger would have been too easy, too fleeting. Instead, a quiet certainty filled me, colder than anger, deeper than grief. This betrayal required clarity, not fury. Action, not emotion. So I began meticulously documenting everything, bank statements, receipts, photographs of missing heirlooms. The evidence piled up silently, building a fortress of truth around me. I was careful, methodical, ensuring each step was invisible. The night I closed our joint account, I felt a pang of guilt, quickly replaced by resolve. I'd spent my life taking care of others. Now, at last, it was time to protect myself. I still recall the morning sunlight filtering through the curtains as I sat with the attorney. His voice was steady, comforting as he explained the process, the quiet legality of reclaiming my home. Eviction sounded harsh, but I'd reached a point where kindness felt naive, almost dangerous. This wasn't revenge, it was preservation. Amy and Mike had planned their moves carefully, but they underestimated my strength. Years of quiet sacrifice had taught me patience, resilience. When Mike called, confused, asking why his card no longer worked, I replied calmly, my voice steady, betraying no emotion. There's been a change, Mike. I'll explain later. He protested, panicked. Amy's voice rose sharply in the background, demanding answers. It felt strange to hold such power, yet strangely comforting. They had expected silence and acceptance, never anticipating my quiet rebellion. That evening, as shadows lengthened and silence enveloped the house, I sat alone, a sense of calm settling over me. I glanced around the familiar walls, memories woven into every corner. It hurt deeply to know these rooms had been tarnished by betrayal, yet a new feeling stirred alongside the pain: pride. Pride in my courage, pride in reclaiming my dignity. Yet even in triumph, grief lingered. The ache of betrayal doesn't fade with victory. Mike had been my world, and letting go of him felt like losing a part of myself. But holding on had cost me too dearly. 2 days later, Amy arrived unannounced, anger etched clearly across her delicate features. She accused me of cruelty, of misunderstanding. Mike stood behind her, silent, eyes downcast, unable to meet mine. It broke my heart again, this boy I loved so deeply, standing before me, a stranger caught between love and loyalty. "Helen, you're overreacting." Amy's voice was sharp, her eyes cold. "You've always misunderstood me." For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe I was wrong, maybe loneliness had clouded my judgment. Then I remembered the bank statements, the missing jewelry, the whispered conversations behind closed doors. "No, Amy. I've misunderstood nothing." My voice was steady, clear. Mike raised his head then, looking directly at me for the first time. I saw sadness there, regret maybe, but not enough courage to challenge her. That hurt most of all. In the days following their departure, the house echoed with a silence I'd never known. It felt larger now, emptier. Each room carried memories of laughter, tears, moments I'd cherished. Yet, despite the emptiness, I felt something new: freedom. Not joyful, perhaps, but peaceful, unburdened by deception. I decided to sell the house. Letting go wasn't defeat, it was liberation, a chance to create something fresh, untainted by betrayal. I found a small apartment nearby, cozy, modest, filled with new possibilities. As I placed each belonging carefully in my new space, I felt lighter, stronger. Mike eventually reached out, slowly rebuilding his life, finding independence from Amy's control. I didn't ask for apologies, nor did I offer forgiveness easily. Healing, I realized, didn't come from mending broken bonds but from reclaiming myself. I'd thought strength meant sacrifice, but now I understood true strength lay in recognizing my own worth. This was my quiet victory, finally choosing myself. Moving into that small apartment marked a new chapter, a quiet rebirth after years of subtle erosion. The first morning there, I woke early, sunlight seeping through sheer curtains I'd hung the night before. The space was unfamiliar, but not unwelcome. My belongings were fewer now, carefully chosen reminders of a life lived fully, despite its recent fractures. As I sipped tea at the small kitchen table, I stared at the wall calendar, its emptiness oddly comforting. My life had always revolved around Mike's schedule, family gatherings, holidays meticulously planned to keep everyone happy. Now, I had no obligations beyond my own well-being. Freedom felt peculiar, like stepping outside after a long illness, the air sharp and clear but tinged with vulnerability. Yet beneath the freedom was sorrow, always present, whispering of the losses that brought me here. Each photograph, each memento unpacked reminded me of happier times, of family moments that had once felt unbreakable. But memories couldn't erase reality. I'd been gently pushed aside, deemed expendable by those I'd trusted most. I needed distance, not from love itself, but from the pain that lingered in every familiar place. Weeks passed slowly, quietly. I spent days walking the neighborhood, greeting new neighbors with cautious smiles. My evenings were devoted to simple tasks, cooking for myself, reading novels I'd put off for years. Slowly, life began to take shape again, smaller but unmistakably mine. Then one afternoon, the phone rang. I recognized Mike's number instantly, hesitation gripping my chest. It had been months since I'd heard his voice. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to guard my hard-won peace. Yet, the mother in me reached out, hopeful. "Hello?" There was a pause, long enough to tighten my breath. "Hi, Mom." His voice was tentative, soft. "It's me." "I know, Mike." My voice was steadier than my heart. "How are you?" Another pause. When he spoke again, vulnerability had replaced caution. "Not great. Things didn't go the way we planned." I didn't speak, waiting patiently. I'd learned silence was often more revealing than questions. "Amy and I, we're separating." His voice broke slightly. "She left a month ago." "I'm sorry, Mike." I truly was, despite everything. "What happened?" His sigh was deep, burdened. "I don't know how it got so bad. She changed, or maybe I did. She wanted control, and I let her have it. Until I couldn't." I listened quietly, letting him speak his truth without interruption. He told me about the arguments, the growing resentment, the escalating tension as her manipulations intensified. I recognized his loneliness, different from mine but equally isolating. "Mom, I treated you terribly." His voice grew thick, tears evident. "You deserved better from me." The apology lingered between us, heavy and raw. Yet I didn't rush to soothe him. Forgiveness, I'd learned, required space to acknowledge pain, to understand betrayal fully. "Yes, Mike. You did." My voice was gentle but honest. "But acknowledging that is important. It's the first step." He breathed deeply, accepting my quiet truth. "Could we meet, Mom? Talk in person?" My heart hesitated, cautious. Opening myself again meant risking the fragile peace I'd built. But the mother in me refused to abandon him completely. "All right, Mike. Let's meet at the park, neutral ground for both of us." Days later, we sat on a bench beneath trees still clinging to autumn's gold. Mike looked older, weary beyond his years. Seeing him stirred a powerful mix of tenderness and caution. We spoke softly, awkwardly at first, avoiding deeper wounds. But gradually, he revealed his struggles, financial, emotional, personal. Amy had drained their accounts, manipulated their friends, and left him isolated, lost. Listening, I felt no triumph, only profound sadness. Her betrayal had been deeper, colder than mine, leaving him confused and humiliated. As painful as our distance had been, Mike now knew intimately the betrayal I'd suffered. "Mom, how did you survive it?" His question was quiet, almost desperate. "How did you find the strength to start over?" I considered his words, looking beyond him at the horizon, distant mountains steady and comforting. "I chose myself, Mike. Not because I didn't love you, but because I needed to survive. And you'll do the same." He nodded, absorbing my words. "I'm proud of you, Mom. You were stronger than I ever knew." His admission softened something deep inside me, releasing a tension I'd carried for years. Perhaps healing wasn't erasing pain but acknowledging it openly, bravely. In the months that followed, Mike began rebuilding his life, cautiously at first. He sought professional help, secured new employment, and eventually found his own small apartment, not far from mine. We met occasionally, careful, respectful conversations filled with mutual understanding. Our relationship slowly transformed, not back into what it once was, but into something new and honest. Amy eventually disappeared entirely from both our lives. Rumors surfaced occasionally, whispers of other families quietly deceived, resources drained, trust shattered. Yet I no longer felt anger, only pity for someone who could only find power in manipulation. One evening, Mike and I shared dinner in my tiny kitchen, the room filled with warmth and quiet conversation. He looked around thoughtfully, nodding in appreciation. "You built something special here, Mom. Something peaceful." I smiled gently, feeling deeply content. "We both did, Mike. Separately, but stronger because of it." And in that moment, I understood, strength wasn't merely survival. It was finding peace despite betrayal, dignity amid grief, and a life truly chosen, unburdened by manipulation. At last, we were home. After that night, life settled into a comforting rhythm, one marked not by grand moments, but by quiet dignity. The peace I'd fought so hard for began to feel permanent. Mike and I saw each other regularly, a cautious bond slowly reforming between us, shaped by understanding rather than obligation. Our conversations were less strained now, touched by genuine laughter and small, shared victories. Yet, healing was not linear. Some evenings, alone in my cozy apartment, echoes of Amy's words returned, whispers from the past that still stung sharply. "Helen is just a guest here." The pain wasn't as sharp, but scars lingered. I knew they always would. One rainy afternoon, I found myself sorting through boxes I'd tucked away months before. Among papers and forgotten keepsakes, my fingers brushed against a small velvet pouch. Opening it slowly, I drew out my grandmother's locket, an heirloom Amy had dismissed as worthless. Its silver surface gleamed softly, familiar and comforting. Inside was a tiny photograph of my own mother, her eyes warm with gentle wisdom. My mother had always urged resilience, quietly modeling strength through hardship. Now, holding her image, I felt her spirit close again, encouraging me to forgive, but never forget. She had always understood life's complexities, the tangled web of love and hurt, betrayal and redemption. I tucked the locket away, deciding to wear it again as a symbol of survival, a reminder of strength inherited and reclaimed. That same evening, the doorbell rang, startling me from quiet reflection. Opening the door, I found Mike standing there, his face pale, eyes shadowed by distress. "Mike? What's wrong?" He swallowed hard, eyes avoiding mine. "Mom, something happened." Amy called. My heart tightened instinctively, defenses rising sharply. "What does she want?" He exhaled, long and uneven. "She's sick. Really sick. She needs help. Financial help." The words hung between us, heavy with implications. Anger flashed briefly, followed by confusion and uncertainty. "Why did she call you?" His voice was tense, burdened with guilt. "She doesn't have anyone else. She said she made mistakes, regrets everything. But I don't know if she's sincere. Or if it even matters now." I listened carefully, measuring my response. The wounds Amy inflicted were still raw, her betrayal deep and personal. Yet, illness changed the equation, complicating emotions that had finally begun to heal. "Mike, what do you feel you should do?" My question was gentle, giving space for his decision. He looked at me, vulnerability stark in his gaze. "I don't know. Part of me feels obligated. But part of me knows she'll only hurt us again. I'm lost, Mom." Silence stretched between us, the rain outside echoing our quiet turmoil. My thoughts drifted back to those painful days, the calculated cruelty Amy had shown me. Yet beneath my resentment was compassion, not for Amy's manipulations, but for Mike's conflicted heart. "Maybe," I began carefully, "the choice isn't about obligation but boundaries. You can offer kindness without giving her control again." His eyes widened slightly, surprised yet relieved. "Boundaries," he murmured thoughtfully. "I've never been good at those." I reached out, gently touching his hand. "Neither was I, Mike. But we've learned." In the days that followed, Mike chose cautious compassion, setting clear boundaries as we had discussed. He arranged help for Amy through distant channels, offering assistance without opening doors to past manipulations. It wasn't easy, guilt tugged at him constantly, but he stayed firm, protecting himself even as he showed mercy. I admired his strength, quietly proud of the man he'd become. Our shared experiences had taught us both harsh truths about betrayal, yet also about resilience and quiet courage. Watching Mike navigate his boundaries, I recognized how far we'd both come. Weeks later, Mike visited again, this time lighter, smiling warmly as we walked through the park beneath budding trees. We didn't speak of Amy, instead, we shared small joys, savoring moments once overshadowed by tension. "I finally understand, Mom," he said gently. "Forgiving someone doesn't mean letting them back in. It's about freeing yourself." His words resonated deeply. Exactly, Mike. Forgiveness isn't a gift to the betrayer, it's kindness to yourself. Our walk continued in comfortable silence, each step affirming our quiet reconciliation. We had both learned to heal separately, yet found ourselves walking the same path, stronger together despite the wounds that would always mark our hearts. Time passed gently, my life now a tapestry of peace, threaded with quiet triumphs. One evening, watching twilight soften the horizon from my small balcony, I realized that this calm was not temporary but earned, built piece by painstaking piece through determination and dignity. From inside, I heard Mike's voice, easy laughter filling the small apartment. He was on the phone, perhaps making new connections, planning new steps forward in life. I smiled, heart full with quiet pride. That night, after he left, I sat alone in gentle darkness, savoring silence rather than fearing it. The apartment was small, modest compared to what I'd lost, yet infinitely richer because it was truly mine. I'd survived betrayal, reclaimed dignity, and found clarity amid hurt. In that quiet moment, peace filled me completely. The echoes of Amy's words faded fully, replaced by a whisper of my own voice, clear and strong. "Helen Carter, you are no one's guest. You are finally home." And at last, I truly believed it. Life settled into quiet contentment after that night. Seasons shifted gently around my little apartment, marking time with subtle beauty, soft snowfalls giving way to blooming dogwoods and the slow warmth of summer. Each day, I felt stronger, less defined by past betrayals, more grounded in the quiet dignity of my independence. Mike and I continued to nurture our newfound relationship, carefully, without haste. Our bond deepened gradually, built not on dependency but mutual respect and shared lessons. Amy's name faded from our conversations, becoming merely a shadow, a cautionary reminder of boundaries we'd fought to protect. Yet even as I found peace, the echoes of the past occasionally returned, unexpected moments triggered memories, small details reopened wounds I'd thought healed. One quiet morning, sorting through mail, I noticed a familiar handwriting on a pale envelope. My heart quickened instinctively. "Amy." My fingers trembled slightly as I opened the letter, cautious yet curious. Inside was a handwritten note, simple yet heavy with emotion. "Helen. I won't pretend to deserve forgiveness. My illness forced me to confront truths I've avoided my entire life, particularly how cruelly I treated you. I see now how my insecurities hurt you both. I hope someday you can find it in your heart to forgive me, not for my sake, but for yours. I'm sorry. Amy." I read it twice, heart swirling with conflicting emotions. Anger surged briefly, at her manipulation, the wounds she'd inflicted. But beneath anger was something softer, sadness, compassion even, for someone trapped in destructive patterns. Yet the letter stirred no desire for reconciliation, only gentle acceptance. Forgiveness had long ceased to be about Amy, it was something I'd quietly given myself, freedom from bitterness, the ability to move forward without resentment. I tucked the note away without replying, knowing silence could speak louder than words. Forgiveness didn't require engagement, only peace within myself. And that, I finally possessed. Days later, sitting quietly on my balcony with Mike, evening air soft around us, I mentioned the letter. He listened quietly, emotions flickering subtly across his face. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yes," I replied calmly. Her apology didn't change my reality, but maybe it'll change hers. Mike nodded thoughtfully, eyes distant with memories. "I'm glad we protected ourselves, Mom. It doesn't mean we didn't care, it just means we valued ourselves enough not to let it happen again." "Precisely, Mike. That's the strength we learned." Time continued its gentle passage, seasons blending softly together, carrying me forward in peaceful solitude. My days became a careful balance of routines and simple pleasures, long walks through quiet neighborhoods, afternoons spent reading novels I'd always intended to finish, evenings filled with soft music and the comfort of my own company. Friendships grew gently as well, neighbors greeting me warmly, casual conversations gradually blossoming into deeper connections. I discovered that strength wasn't only found in solitude, but also in allowing myself cautious vulnerability, openness without fear of exploitation. One neighbor, Margaret, became especially close. Like me, she'd experienced loss, faced betrayals, and quietly rebuilt her life. Our shared stories bonded us deeply, friendships formed not through superficialities but authentic understanding. One evening, sharing tea in her cozy living room, Margaret spoke softly, eyes filled with quiet wisdom. "Helen, sometimes the hardest betrayals come from those we love most. Yet surviving them makes us stronger, clearer in our truths. You're living proof of that strength." I smiled softly, feeling deeply understood. "As are you, Margaret. Strength isn't loud or aggressive, it's quiet, resilient, determined. That's what we've both discovered." Mike often joined us, forming his own connections within my small circle of quiet strength. It warmed me deeply, witnessing his growth, seeing him embrace boundaries even as he opened himself to new friendships, new possibilities. One afternoon, he surprised me by bringing home a small kitten, fluffy and curious, eyes wide with innocence. "Mom, I thought you could use some company, gentle, loyal company. She reminds me of you, quiet yet strong." The kitten purred softly, curling into my lap without hesitation. Her warmth filled something within me, soothing lingering loneliness I hadn't fully acknowledged. "Thank you, Mike." I stroked her gently, my heart lighter than it had felt in years. "You're right, she's exactly what I needed." Days turned into months, the kitten growing quickly, playful energy filling my apartment with quiet joy. Mike visited often, laughter easy now, relationships mended carefully and authentically. One evening, as twilight softened the sky outside, Mike spoke gently, his tone careful but hopeful. "Mom, I've been thinking about our journey, everything we've faced, survived, and built. You've taught me courage, dignity, forgiveness without surrender. I want others to know your story. Your strength deserves to be shared." His suggestion surprised me, yet felt somehow fitting. My story, though filled with pain, betrayal, and manipulation, also spoke powerfully of quiet resilience, the strength inherent in reclaiming dignity. If sharing our experiences helps even one person recognize their worth, Mike, then yes. Tell our story, not from bitterness, but hope. Weeks later, our story quietly spread, an article written respectfully, honestly, emphasizing strength found in boundaries, dignity rebuilt through quiet resilience. Letters arrived, heartfelt messages from strangers who'd faced similar betrayals, inspired now by our shared strength. Reading them, my heart swelled gently, peace deeper than ever. My journey, once defined by hurt, had transformed into a quiet beacon for others, proof that dignity could survive betrayal, strength could quietly triumph over manipulation. That evening, sitting quietly with Mike, watching evening colors fade gently into darkness, I knew my life had truly become mine. Boundaries carefully established had protected my heart without isolating it, quiet forgiveness had freed me from bitterness without compromising dignity. In peaceful silence, surrounded by quiet love, my son beside me, friends nearby, gentle kitten curled in my lap, I finally understood true resilience. It wasn't merely surviving, it was quietly thriving, dignity intact, strength reclaimed. Time moved gently, each season bringing further healing, deepening my peace. Mike's presence became a steady comfort, our bond firmly rooted now in mutual respect and cautious openness. We shared simple joys, quiet dinners, walks along familiar streets, afternoons spent in gentle conversation. Our story had reached others, but its greatest gift was the quiet confidence it instilled in us, a reminder of our resilience. One brisk autumn day, returning from a morning walk, I found an envelope waiting, the handwriting unfamiliar yet precise. Opening it carefully, my heart stilled briefly. Inside was a formal-looking letter from a lawyer. I hesitated, memories of past betrayals momentarily clouding my clarity. But curiosity and a newfound strength steadied me. Scanning the letter, surprise washed over me, quiet disbelief mixed with gratitude. It detailed a distant relative's estate, someone I'd hardly known, yet who had remembered me generously in their will. The inheritance wasn't extravagant but significant enough to alter my modest security profoundly. Sitting slowly at my kitchen table, I absorbed the news, emotions swirling gently. I hadn't expected such generosity, least of all from distant family I'd barely known. Yet perhaps this quiet blessing was life's way of affirming my choices, rewarding quiet strength through hardships. That evening, Mike listened intently, eyes wide with surprise and cautious excitement. "This is incredible, Mom. It's like life finally recognized your sacrifices. You deserve this peace of mind more than anyone." I smiled gently, comforted by his genuine happiness for me. "It does feel like a quiet validation, Mike. Life can surprise us when we least expect it." The inheritance brought new possibilities, financial comfort, yes, but also deeper opportunities. I considered options carefully, reflecting quietly on my journey, realizing this gift could allow me to create something meaningful, something that would extend beyond my life. One night, speaking softly with Margaret over tea, inspiration gently took root. Her eyes sparkled warmly as I shared ideas, excitement quietly building. "Helen, your story has already inspired others. Imagine if your inheritance could do even more, offer tangible help to those who've experienced similar betrayals." Her words resonated deeply, guiding my thoughts gently yet clearly. A quiet plan formed carefully in my heart, a small foundation to provide legal aid, counseling, and support for individuals facing subtle family betrayals, manipulations that often slipped unnoticed through cracks of trust. In the weeks that followed, plans took shape carefully, guided by quiet determination. Mike joined enthusiastically, offering his business skills, pride evident in every cautious step forward. Together, we built something meaningful, something that honored our shared journey through hurt, boundaries, and quiet strength. Months later, the foundation quietly opened, modest yet deeply impactful. Letters poured in, gratitude evident in every careful word, stories of reclaimed dignity echoing my own. Each message strengthened my heart, affirming the quiet yet profound impact of turning personal betrayal into broader healing. Mike and I spent evenings reading letters together, hearts gently warmed by shared stories, journeys of quiet survival transformed into hopeful new beginnings. Our relationship continued to flourish gently, built not merely from shared pain, but mutual growth, quiet wisdom gained from life's hardest lessons. One afternoon, a familiar handwriting appeared again, a second letter from Amy. This time, I opened it calmly, emotions steady. "Helen, your quiet strength inspires me every day. The foundation you've created is truly remarkable. Your story continues to teach me lessons about dignity, forgiveness, and boundaries I desperately needed to learn. Thank you, truly, for showing me another path. Amy." I smiled softly, heart free of resentment, warmed instead by quiet satisfaction. Perhaps Amy had finally begun her own journey toward healing, inspired not by confrontation but quiet dignity I'd carefully nurtured. That evening, Mike visited again, his expression peaceful yet thoughtful as I shared Amy's letter. "You've changed her life, Mom, not by sacrificing yourself but by reclaiming your worth. That's true power." I nodded gently, feeling deeply fulfilled. True strength doesn't demand acknowledgement. It quietly inspires through example, allowing others their own journey toward redemption. Life continued gently, now deeply enriched by quiet purpose, meaningful connections, and careful boundaries I'd once lacked. My days, still modest, carried profound fulfillment, simple joys deeper because they'd been reclaimed, strength truer because I'd chosen it. One evening, as twilight colored the horizon softly, I sat alone on my balcony, quiet gratitude filling me. The gentle kitten, now fully grown, curled quietly beside me, warmth comforting. My life felt complete, not because it was free of pain, but because I'd embraced my worth, reclaimed dignity from betrayal, and quietly built meaning from hardship. Looking upward, I whispered softly into the quiet air. "Thank you for this journey, for teaching me strength through pain, dignity through betrayal, and quiet power in choosing myself." In peaceful silence, tears filled my eyes, not from sadness, but profound gratitude. Betrayal had taught harsh lessons, yet from its darkness, I discovered clarity, resilience, and quiet, enduring strength. This quiet peace, hard-earned yet deeply cherished, was my true inheritance. Not measured by wealth alone, but by wisdom gained, boundaries respected, and dignity carefully rebuilt. And in that quiet moment, I realized fully. My life, once overshadowed by subtle betrayals, had finally blossomed into quiet triumph. My dignity, gently reclaimed, shone brighter now than ever, quiet, resilient, yet profoundly powerful. The evening sun slipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and lavender. My balcony was bathed in soft twilight as I stood alone, gazing quietly over the city that had borne witness to my pain and, ultimately, my redemption. Tonight marked exactly 1 year since I'd received Amy's letter, 1 year since she'd started her own quiet journey toward healing. Though we'd never met again, I knew her life had changed, inspired by my quiet dignity. She had found her own path, leaving behind manipulation and embracing authenticity. Inside, laughter filled my small apartment. Mike and Margaret were setting the table, their voices blending in gentle harmony. Soon others would arrive, people whose lives I'd touched through the foundation. They were strangers turned friends, bonded by shared experiences and the courage to reclaim their dignity. Stepping back inside, I paused at the mirror, noticing my reflection. Silver hair framed a face marked by quiet resilience, eyes holding gentle wisdom born from pain and grace. I touched the locket around my neck, a symbol of survival passed down through generations, and felt its comforting weight against my heart. The apartment filled steadily, warmth radiating from every corner. As we gathered around the table, I looked at each face, faces etched with stories of quiet strength, resilience, and hope. Mike raised a glass, his eyes shining brightly. "To my mother, Helen," he said softly, voice thick with emotion. "A woman whose quiet courage taught us all the power of dignity, boundaries, and forgiveness. May we all find strength in her journey." Tears blurred my vision as gentle applause filled the room. Not from pride, but from profound gratitude. My quiet struggle, once marked by betrayal and loneliness, had transformed into something beautiful, a legacy built from compassion, boundaries, and resilience. Later, as guests departed, Mike lingered, embracing me tightly. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he whispered, voice trembling. "Thank you for showing me what true strength is." As silence settled again, I stepped onto the balcony one last time, stars glittering softly overhead. The city stretched quietly below, a tapestry of lives intertwined. Closing my eyes, I breathed deeply, peace filling me completely. Life had tested me, quietly but profoundly, yet it had given back more than it ever took away. I'd reclaimed myself, found my dignity, and inspired others through quiet strength. My heart now held a quiet, enduring triumph, born not from confrontation, but from gentle resilience. In that moment, beneath endless stars, I smiled softly. The journey had been long, painful, yet beautifully transformative. At last, I'd truly come home, not just to a place, but to myself. And that was the greatest victory of all.